Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Ketchikan. It is a cold, cloudy, dreary, rainy day here in Ketchikan, but you know what? This is the Alaska experience I think I was expecting. Thankfully, the weather in all the other ports has been great. So one day of this is totally worth it. So we're just kind of walking around the town here, the port. Went to Wonderland for dinner last night. It was a long dining experience. I want to say over 3 hours. The food was pretty good. As you can see, we had the crispy crab cone, the shrimp wrapped in the kataifi noodle dough. That was pretty good. The liquid lobster bite, which is always really good, and the wonton soup, which was just okay. The broth was kind of not hot, but it was pretty tasty, so that's cool. And then for the main course, I had the braised beef short ribs, which were actually really good. Those are really tender, tasty, and fantastic. For the dessert, we had 3 different kinds of desserts, which were nice. The Dream, which was that melting chocolate globe, that was delicious. The other 2 I didn't really care for. They're more of like I don't know, it's hard to explain, kind of like a marshmallowy type texture, which I'm not really a fan of. But they were very pretty to look at, obviously, but it was a cool dining experience. I don't know if I would go back again because this was my second time, but it was worth it. It was unique, that's for sure. So if you want a unique dining experience, want to try things made a way that you'll probably never see again, that would be, my suggestion to go check out Wonderland. For the rest of the night, we just kind of hung out, played some board games, and now we're just walking around the town. We don't have much planned here in Ketchikan today, just walking around looking for some salmon. We definitely want to try salmon, being in the salmon capital of the world, so it could be self-proclaimed, but it might have some truth to it as well. So yeah, just kind of a cool little town here, very quaint, lots of cute little stores, and just checking it out. How do you like Ketchikan?
Great. I got to wear a scarf. It was good.
Oh my gosh, stepping in puddles. Let's see your scarf. It's so cute.
I look like a little babushka.
A little Russian lady.
Yeah, you do.
Where is
my beat?
Where is your parka and babushka? Please come this way.
Down the parka.
Just went to the Alaskan Fish House here in Ketchikan, Alaska. Had some grilled and crispy salmon tacos, which were delicious. It was nice to be able to have some real fresh local fish here in the great state of Alaska. So we're now making our way back over to the ship. Probably going to play some ping pong or pool or just hang out. Don't really have much planned tonight.
You guys having fun?
But yeah, we'll catch back up with you guys in just a little bit. It looks like the weather's starting to clear up, which is nice. Stopped raining. It's still a bit cloudy and fairly cool, but nonetheless, it's not pouring down rain like it was earlier, so that's pretty nice. So we'll talk to you guys in just a little bit. Welcome back, everybody. Sorry for the abrupt ending to the vlog here in Ketchikan. I have to explain, and basically what I'm about to do now is give you my overall thoughts and reviews of the Ovation of the Seas on our cruise to Alaska. So you heard me mention earlier that we were going to eat dinner in Wonderland, which we did, but I just want to give a little bit of a review of our time in Wonderland. We sat down for dinner. We told the waiter, I don't remember his name unfortunately, that our friend Trevor does not eat any sort of seafood. We noticed that many of the appetizers that they bring out are sort of seafood related. So you'll see that we have a buffalo shrimp and a Ketchikan dough noodle. There's the liquid lobster, which by the way is always phenomenal. The tuna and the lime bowl, and I think a couple others. So a couple of the other options that they did bring us was the buffalo egg, which is basically a deviled egg in a different form, which is very good, by the way. Don't get me wrong. All the food in Wonderland is very good. It's a very unique dining experience, and if you've never eaten there, I do suggest that you do give it a try. It's very cool. Nonetheless, we told him that Trevor doesn't eat any sort of seafood, so we would have thought maybe he would have gotten maybe a couple of the other non-seafood related appetizers, or more of the appetizers that we ate that were not seafood related, such as the deviled egg and the wonton soup. But that didn't happen. Unfortunately, he actually brought out, there were four of us dining, and the waiter brought out, when he brought the seafood related items, he brought three instead of four, which sort of made Trevor feel, left out, which is, it's not the way that you want to feel when you're eating at a specialty dining restaurant. So, at that point I would have thought that maybe he would have brought Trevor another egg or another wonton soup or something like that, but that didn't happen. And in addition to that, the wonton soup that they served us wasn't hot. And normally when I like my soup, I like it hot. But that didn't happen either. And the service, unfortunately, was very slow. This was another 3-hour plus long dining experience. I expect a somewhat longer dining experience in maybe the specialty restaurants, but definitely not 3 hours, where it takes up the majority of your evening and you miss out on some of the activities that are going on. So that was a bit disappointing. But nonetheless, the food in Wonderland is very unique. It's good. It's different. It's just something that you have to try, hopefully on a sailing that has better service than the one that we were on. Now let me talk a bit about Pixels. So there's a theater in the back of the ship. It's called the 270, 270 Theater or 270 Venue, whatever you want to call it. But basically that venue is designed specifically for a show called Pixels, which incorporates a lot of different areas throughout the venue, with stages going up and down, people flying. There's these large screen TVs that are operated by robotic arms that are incorporated into the show. It's a very unique show that you would see elsewhere other than the main theater. It was a bit disappointing because initially we were told that Pixels would not be happening because there just wasn't enough time for them to get it ready. Mind you, again, this was the first sailing of this ship since last year with paying customers. They did have a test sailing prior to our sailing, but that was, I don't believe anybody paid for that sailing. So. Yeah, so we were told that Pixels wasn't going to happen, and then towards the end of the sailing, they did tell us that there would be 2 sneak peek preview shows, essentially. Now, the show is supposed to be about an hour long. These sneak peeks ended up being about 15 minutes. And let me tell you, they were fantastic. It really was more of a teaser than a sneak peek, because you were just left wanting more and more. And it was very unfortunate that we didn't get to enjoy the whole experience, because the dancing, the music, the costumes, everything was really, really good. So I'm sure at this point, if you're watching this vlog now, the show is in full force. so that should not be an issue moving forward. But for our sailing, as part of my review, I do have to say it was a bit disappointing that we didn't get to see the entire showing of Pixels. Another part of the reason why you don't see any more vlog from this point after we leave Ketchikan is simply because there wasn't much else to do at this point. So there was two more sea days on our way back to Seattle, and the experiences or the events in the evening time were repetitious. So it was more of Mosaic or more of the comedian. And if you've already seen Mosaic and you've already seen the comedian, then you're not really going to get anything new and exciting. So we ended up not doing any more vlogging. In addition to that, we also ended up not eating in the main dining room, simply because the service had just been so slow, I guess you can say, because of the lack of staffing that was on board the ship. And again, this has nothing to do with the crew. The crew that were actually on board and working were incredible. They were so friendly. They tried their best, but in my opinion, it's Royal Caribbean's management that set the crew up for failure and set the passengers up to be disappointed. And I think we're continuing to see this across not only Royal Caribbean, but other cruise lines as well, and other ships in these cruise lines' fleets, simply because they just don't have enough crew to support the number of passengers that they have on board. So we did end up eating in the pub, which is located next to Sorrento's. I can't remember the name of it. And the food in there it's bar type food. But again, it took a really long time to get our dinners. And basically we just ordered some appetizers, some nachos, which were cold, and then a couple other things like a pretzel and some mac and cheese bites. But nonetheless, the food in those venues was very slow to come out, which again took up some of our evening. Mind you, we didn't have anything to do because we'd already seen the entertainment that was going to be happening on board. I just want to touch on the comedian. So we had Mike Pace as the comedian. We did see him on the last night. Obviously, you can't really film a comedian due to copyright rules. But he wasn't that funny. And the reason I think he wasn't that funny is because he didn't bring a lot of his own content. He really heavily relied on the audience members' interaction. He was very interactive with the audience, asking questions and trying to make jokes based on their responses. And unfortunately, the responses that he got from these audience members, he didn't really have any material to put out there, which kind of left him a little bit boring and dry. And I think he was on the show Curb Your Enthusiasm, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong. So yeah, the comedian on this particular sailing was not great. I will say, though, that comedians on many of the other sailings that I've been on and other ships on Royal Caribbean have been phenomenal. I just think that this guy happened to be a one-off. So one other thing I wanted to mention about this sailing, in one reason that I really, really like Royal Caribbean is the amount of activities that they have and the entertainment. One thing that Royal Caribbean does better than any other cruise line, in my opinion, with maybe the exception of Disney, is the quality of entertainment. They always have at least 2 different style shows in the main theater, Broadway style production shows. And then they have other entertainment filling in, whether it's variety acts or comedians or musical groups, something like that, something filled in normally every day on every night of the cruise. But on this sailing, unfortunately, again, because of a lack of crew members, they didn't have the ability or time, I guess maybe it was, to put together the second production show. We had the show Live, Love, Legs, which, as you saw in the vlogs earlier, it was phenomenal. It is great music, great dancing, technology used on the screens. It was very cool. And I actually saw that twice. So it's a great show. But what was disappointing was we didn't get to see the other show, The Beautiful Dream, which is a different style production show, I guess you can say. More of a more theatrical, I guess, versus a cabaret style show, which would be considered for like Live, Love, Legs. So Again, it was a bit disappointing that we didn't have that particular show to be able to watch. So hopeful by now, if you're watching the vlog and you're going on the Ovation of the Seas, they will have that ready for you at this point. But I don't know for sure. I will say, though, that debarkation from this ship for me was very easy. We did take your own luggage with you. And basically, we didn't wait for anything. We walked right downstairs. It was somewhat early in the process. Walked through the terminal and got off without any issues. We didn't wait for anything. And the good thing for this sailing, particularly, because we started in Vancouver and ended in Seattle, is that we didn't have to go through customs, which was nice. So that was all done before we even got on the ship, because the first point of departure being Vancouver, they had U.S. Customs in that facility, because after our departure from Vancouver, every port stop that we made was a U.S. City. So that was nice. That saved quite a bit of time. So again, overall, I think, the ship is a beautiful ship. The Quantum class ships are phenomenal. However, I can't really say that for all of them, because I've only ever been on the Ovation of the Seas, and this was my second time on her. The port stops were great. I will say that the stop in Sitka was frustrating, simply because of the lack of shuttle buses that they had to take people to the actual town. You did have to wait a couple hours to get onto the shuttle bus from the port. There was another ship, a Princess ship, that was in port with us, which added to the amount of passengers that needed to get transported. But nonetheless, that did take up quite a large part of the morning while we were in Sitka. I had never been to Sitka before. It's a very cute town with beautiful views. There's a volcano there, which I did not know until as we were leaving is when I saw it. Juneau. Juneau is a great port. There's so much to do in Juneau. My recommendations for what I would do in Juneau if I had another chance to go is the whale watching tour and the Mendenhall Glacier. They're basically both must-do excursions. They're great. I highly recommend both. You get some great views of the glacier with Nugget Falls over there. And then I believe most of the whale watching tours guarantee that you will see a whale, at least one. And I've seen plenty while I was there. So I was very happy with Juneau. This particular time that we were in Juneau, however, we just walked around the town and had lunch at Tracy's Crab Shack, which is a phenomenal place to get some crab. I will say the prices have increased tremendously simply because there was no crab season last year due to the overfishing. So they stopped the crab fishing season to allow the crabs to grow and multiply so that there can be future seasons for the fishermen to enjoy. Skagway. Skagway is a stop that I've been to before. It's a great port. I will say, though, the town is very small. You can probably walk through the entire town in about an hour. But what I recommend doing in Skagway, if you are making a stop, and I think pretty much everyone does it, is the White Pass Railway. You take a trip up on the railroad through the mountains. It takes about 3 hours or so, but it is absolutely beautiful. The scenery that you see the entire time is so phenomenal. And if you go early in the season, you start out at the base where everything is green and lush and rocky and things like that, and you work your way up into the snow. When we got to the top of the pass, we made a loop to turn back, and essentially the snow was higher than the train on the sides, which I thought was kind of cool. And then you come back down, and it's just a really cool, relaxing experience. So while we went through the Endicott Arm to go see Dawes Glacier, unfortunately we weren't able to get close this time. On my last trip with Ovation, we did get quite a bit closer, but this one, due to the large amounts of ice in the ice fields, prevented us from getting close at all, or even to really even be able to see the glacier, which was a bit disappointing. But you know what? Mother Nature has its ways, and you know, being on a ship, you're not wanting to end up like the Titanic. So I don't blame the captain for not trying to get in. It is what it is, and you know, maybe there's another chance to see it next time. Ketchikan was another port that I had not been to before. I thought it was, the weather in Ketchikan is what I expect when I go to Alaska. It was cold, cloudy, low clouds, and dreary. And you know, some people may say that they don't like that kind of weather, but that's what I expect when I go to Alaska. Every other port that we were in this time was phenomenal weather. It was, you know, about 50 degrees, 55, sunny, just beautiful weather. And when we got to Ketchikan, it was the complete opposite. But you know what? It still made it so beautiful. The clouds coming in and out of the mountains was so cool. The rain was not, you know, downpour. It was just a little bit of rain every now and again, and it was fine. I think it really added to the feel of being in Alaska, and I really actually enjoyed it. And I think my friends that were with me also enjoyed it as well. So, you know, don't let the rain spoil your day when it's cloudy and rainy. Just enjoy it that much more. And you take it in for what it is and enjoy it in a different aspect. Like I said, the views are very different when you have that type of climate and weather. So I thought it was pretty cool to enjoy it that way. We did go to a taco shop. I don't remember the name of the place, unfortunately. But you can see here we had some salmon tacos because Ketchikan is the salmon capital of the world, self-proclaimed maybe. But it was nice to have some very fresh local fish. So we had a couple tacos that were salmon filled and were delicious nonetheless. And then just ended up walking around the town there for just a little while and enjoying, you know, the views and the scenery of Ketchikan. So I would definitely love to go back, maybe do a different excursion. Well, we didn't do an excursion, but maybe do an excursion. Something maybe salmon related or something like that. But yeah, I would love to go back to Ketchikan and check that out again. So one thing I'll say about the Ovation class, the Quantum class ships, they are the perfectly designed ship for Alaska. And let me tell you why. So you've got the solarium at the front of the ship, which is unfortunately is adults only. So if you've got kids, I think it's under 16, can't go in there. But it allows for magnificent views in a climate-controlled setting. So you can be sitting in a hot tub, watching the mountains go by, watching whales, or whatever. But you've got basically a 180-degree view or more of your surroundings, and you get to enjoy it while you're chilling in a hot tub or the pool. So it's very nice to have a climate-controlled area at the front. Now, also behind the solarium, a little bit further back in the ship, is the indoor pool. So again, this is also for families or anybody else who doesn't want to be in the solarium. You have a big pool with a few hot tubs to enjoy, again, in a climate-controlled setting. If the weather's nice, they actually have the ability to open up the roof. It's a convertible style roof, which is pretty cool. So yeah, so you can enjoy more views inside the, you know, in a climate-controlled setting in the ship. Moving back just a little bit further, you start to get in the outdoor setting. So this too was also nice. We sat in the hot tub outside. I think it was after Juneau. But we sat outside watching a movie on the big screen, and it felt really nice, you know, being in the sun in about 50 degrees in a hot tub. It was just very cool. And then you've got, of course, the back of the ship, the 270, which is, I think, 3 stories high or 3 decks tall with 270-degree views. So again, more huge windows to be able to see the beautiful scenery of Alaska, whether it's the mountains or, you know, whatever. But the ship is perfectly designed because many of the things that are meant to be done are inside the ship. Really, the only thing that is outside is the flow rider and the running track. There's a couple other things, I guess, but most of the things that you're doing on board the ship are indoors. The Seaplex is a great place to have gaming and things like that, which is an indoor setting. You've got the bumper cars. It's a very versatile area. It's used for volleyball, ping pong, bumper cars, basketball, soccer, pickleball. Anything that you would do on a sports court is done in the Seaplex, and it's done inside, and again, a climate-controlled area. So very cool. very cool area, very cool section to be in on the ship. One other thing that was a little disappointing was the North Star wasn't working. And the North Star is the pod on top of the ship that is on this mechanical arm that takes you from side to side and straight up. So you're about, I guess, another 150 feet or so, or maybe, I don't know, about 150 feet on an arm above the ship. So you're looking down about 300 or 400 feet to the water. So you get, again, some really cool views and of the scenery around you when you're in the North Star. But again, it wasn't working, unfortunately. So the ship just, I guess what it really boils down to is Royal Caribbean just was not ready on this particular sailing. With the North Star not working, the shows not being ready, the staff not being staffed adequately, it really led to a disappointing sailing, which, you know, is not something that I ever say when I'm going on Royal Caribbean. I've never had a bad experience. And don't get me wrong, this wasn't a bad experience. It was just a little disappointing with the service not being what you would normally expect or see on a Royal Caribbean ship. Now, with that said, I did have one of my most memorable experiences on this ship, on this sailing, that took an item off of my bucket list, and that was to be able to see the Northern Lights. Again, you know, you saw earlier in the vlog, we were just playing board games and had no clue that this was happening. Another thing I wish would have been the captain maybe making an announcement. I know it's 1:30 in the morning that this occurred, but you know what? I think probably a large majority of the passengers on board would have wanted to be woken up to be able to see the Northern Lights. I don't think very many people would have been mad at being woken up by an announcement that the Northern Lights were happening. And it happened for about 30 minutes, which was incredible. Something that I'll never forget, just watching the green lights in the sky dancing around was just so magical. So yeah, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for now. I will let you know that I have my next cruise booked on board the Symphony of the Seas, which will now be my third Oasis class ship in about a year. Actually, it will be just a year. I've never been on Oasis Oasis class ship since last October. You can check out that vlog at the end of this video. But yeah, the Oasis class ships are a great ship. I'm excited to get back on one, being the Symphony of the Seas, which is the second newest Oasis class ship in the fleet. So excited to check her out, and we'll be sure to bring that vlog along to you. We're going to be visiting the ports of Coco Cay, which is obviously one of my favorite ports, St. Martin, San Juan, and St. Thomas. So well, not all of the saints, but a couple of them, and San Juan. So looking forward to that trip, and I will bring you guys along for the journey, and we'll check back in with you guys in a bit. Until then, stay safe, and we'll see you again.